Foul is Fair, Chapter 34, Implementing the Plan. Most of Friday night and much of Saturday morning was spent in preparation. Lanny stayed up past when the rest went to bed, working with various springs and an old alarm clock, managing to finish the project in time to get a little sleep. Kara showed up right on schedule on Saturday morning with breakfast for everyone in hand. Convincing Kara to take part took some doing and involved bringing Mr. Kahale in on the effort. He wasn't happy that the girls and Justin were putting themselves back into danger, but he also couldn't come up with anything better and agreed that both they and Kara would have the Menehune contingent's support. After breakfast, they set out, following Ashling's lead. Kara took the first step in the plan, moving to convince the other brownies to see that Megan and the rest would have assistants and messengers anywhere, even if they needed to come and go quietly. Additionally, Kara moved to deliver a message to a few of Kasha's friends, despite some nervousness at doing so. Thus, a few of the Unseelie knew they were coming, but the group wasn't met by Orla's guards and escorted into any sort of protective custody until the dance. So across the green lawn, in the chilled but gold-suffused air, they walked. Kasha and Justin simply wore their armor, but Lanny was decked out in her mechanic's costume and Megan was Red Riding Hood. The walk through the halls of Anchak Dare were different from the last trip. From the start, the place was ridiculously crowded. Fairies of sorts she hadn't even seen yet were crowded in alongside even more of the population she did recognize. There were guards posted at the ballroom doors and those of all major rooms. Pixies and sprites flitted about over the heads of the bigger folk, delivering messages or keeping an eye on things. With all of the pixies flitting about, Megan knew they had to move fast. They were met by some of Kasha's friends who, along with the satiress and her leopards, helped clear a path through the halls until they were in the distinctly Unseelie wing. From there, Megan headed for Riacard's room. Once they were into the darker halls, various groups of Unseelie tried to approach them. Some looked especially threatening to Megan, though she didn't know whether they were aware of the Queen's plans and blaming Megan for help with the sword or just interested in the taste of princess. Thankfully, between Kasha and her friends, none of those got particularly close. The second group seemed to be wanting to offer help with whatever she wanted to do. Rumors were circling, and in the Unseelie ranks, that made for a lot of anger at the Queen, but no real unity or organization regarding doing anything about it. Some just wanted someone to take their frustrations out on. Others were clearly ready to do something, but had no plan for what that something should be. She guessed that the dungeons were full as well, until after the dance, at least. Kasha warned away a few of those seeming to want to offer aid, while telling others to come talk to her and where she'd be. Megan wasn't sure of the difference between who she told what, but Megan felt that Kasha could navigate this better than she could herself. Regardless, they were able to get to their destination, her father's room. Just before she entered, she noticed a will-o-wisp floating nearby. While she was pretty certain that the Queen and her guard weren't going to approach them in Riacard's room, she was far less certain of the Grey Lady. Likewise, she knew that even among the Unseelie, the Queen had her contacts and allies. Likely as not, some of them would be pretending to oppose the Queen's plans, but would sabotage anything Megan tried to do. And indeed, just as they'd gotten everyone into the room, the figure came in the doorway. Tarnished silver hair, pearl-streaked skin, empty eyes, the Grey Lady stared.
"I just wanted to tell you, I'm sorry your quest backfired,"
the wisps whispered. "Yeah," Megan said, "it did."
"I also simply wanted to let you know something,"
the whispers continued.
"Sometimes it's better to wait things out. Rash action could endanger my people."
"Our people," Megan interrupted. She may have accepted that she probably should try not to fit in all the way, all the time, but if she was going to be hearing creepy, veiled threats, she wasn't going to let herself be painted as just a foreigner, too.
"Our people. I would advise advise against endangering them further. Waiting, one gets used to it.
I'll keep that in mind, thanks, Megan said blankly. The pearl-mottled face lowered in a nod, and the tarnished figure and adjacent points of light withdrew from the closing doorway. After that, they settled into the room. There was occasional commotion at the doors, and Kasia moved to meet with some of her friends, assuring them there was a plan, and either making sure they'd know when to help Megan and company get out of Anchaktera, or telling a select few that they'd be welcome to go along and help in the eventual effort. Regardless what else she told them, she wouldn't tell anyone the plans or where they were going. While Kasia tended the door, Lonnie went searching through the room for anything potentially useful for the trip. "Justin," Lonnie said as she pointed toward one of the swords on the wall. He nodded and took it, slipping it into the ornate sheath of the Clive Solish. Megan and Aisling were going through papers around the piano, seeking more clues and useful songs, when nervous-looking brownies arrived with lunch and, as requested, extra food. The group packed up as soon as they felt as equipped and ready as possible. On cue, selections of Kasia's associates caused small disturbances throughout the castle, drawing guards. Only then did Kasia and the chariot come barreling out of Riacard's room, followed closely by Justin. It wasn't long before they developed a following. Some of those who gathered up around them were those Kasia invited. Others quickly took up the cause, or just started running along out of curiosity or the odd spirit of the mob. Regardless, by the time they reached the front doors, they had a chaotic momentum that the handful of guards left weren't going to stop. There was a bit of scuffling, but Kasia, Justin, and most of the unseelie mob reached the doors and began the rush towards the wood where the sword was held. Pixies and other winged things rushed above them, some following the mob, some racing ahead of it to warn and reinforce the defenders. As soon as the rushing footfalls, shouts, and chariot wheels were off in the distance, Aisling peeked her head out the door. She finally gestured.
"Come on, I know a back way out. Just keep it quiet."
She jumped on the Count's back, and the crow took off through the twisting hallways. Space Mechanic Lanny and Red Riding Megan followed, hugging the walls as best they could while keeping pace. "Are you sure the compass is going to work?" Red Riding Megan asked, while trying to keep the crow in sight. "Between this and the pixie guiding us, we should be able to find him, no matter what enchantments and illusions are up around that cave. Yes. Did you find anything in the room in case we run into guards? The Queen will be watching the cave too." "Not that either of us could use. We'll just have to be sneaky and hope Justin and Kasia buy us enough time."